Trekcast.
The galaxy's most unpredictable Star Trek podcast.
Hey everyone, this is Daniel with Trekcast. I got a big interview for you guys today. We are talking to an actor from some of your favorite video games like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Assassin's Creed, to name a few. He's currently the main bad guy on Netflix's Blood of Zeus, but we Star Trek fans know him better as Locke from Season 5 of Star Trek Discovery. Please welcome to Trekcast, Elias Toufixus. Hey, thanks for being here, Elias.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I love
Awesome.
doing these things.
Yeah, you're in the dark room there, huh?
Well, it's my sound booth.
That's
so
awesome.
It's like this is about as much lighting as I can get in here. Yeah, makes me look very ominous.
Very nice. Well, it kind of fits with my first question I got for you. You did put on earlier this week on social media that you got a Lego Batman set for Father's Day, and just wondering if you put that thing together yet.
We did, yeah. I let with those, I let my son buys it for me, or my daughter, and then they put it together basically.
Right.
And then I'll help, and then I'll just put it up in my like right outside this booth is like I'm a really big nerd, and people don't really know. I've got the NCC 1701 from the show right there, and the D right next to it. I got a Romulan warbird right next to that, and then I got a whole bunch of Star Trek figures, and then once you get into other movies, I have a whole bunch of. I'm a big cinephile, so I've like McCready from The Thing and RoboCop, and even have a Gene Wilder toy. Like I'm really into all that stuff. So that's why they bought that for me. Then they build it, and then I put it where I think it should go.
Okay. What is the prized possession in your collection, you think?
I don't know if there's a prize. I do have this old, I have this ash that McFarlane toy had made that's like about this big.
Okay. From Evil Dead Ash?
Yeah, no, I guess it would be the Evil Dead 2 or an Army of Darkness Ash. I think it's Army of Darkness, but it's like 15 inches tall. And I have an Edward Scissorhands also about 15 inches tall.
Oh, wow.
And those were made, like almost 20 years ago. And I bought them at the time with what little money I had. And somehow in all the cities and countries I've lived, they've made the trip with me. So probably those. And now I'm trying to collect things that I'm actually in, like characters that I've played. And things like that, where it's like I have a different section for that, my own section of.
Okay,
I'm really looking for a lack figure, or their ship, or sort of lack ship or something.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be like, this is my own section of characters that I played. I got a couple of those already.
Well, speaking of films, I saw that you were recently a part of the Los Angeles Greek Film Festival.
Yeah.
What was that like being a part of that?
These film festivals are interesting because they want. I mean, I would consider myself a generously B- celebrity, but they want people to come out and support. And for me, it's I'm Greek, or I'm half Greek, but it's most of my life I grew up, in my big fat Greek wedding. That's all true. Like that was my life, and so I like to support as much as possible. I was just in Greece in December, and then Blood of Zeus, of course, on Netflix. That's a big Greek mythology, so I'm all kind of surrounded, mixed up with the Greek, supporting anything Greek, and so they knew who I was, and they called me and asked me to go. And I saw a couple films there that were really, really, really good. I don't speak Greek, but still the films were subtitled, but they were really good.
That's awesome. Well, going on to mythology, it was recently announced by Todd Stashwick that you're going to be part of a D&D campaign at STLV.
Apparently, I think I agreed to that in like a text message thread. And I think I said, like, yeah, sure. And then suddenly I'm seeing a whole bunch of things. I'm like, I guess I'm doing this. So yeah, I'm going to that's at Vegas, right?
Yeah, that's the Vegas one.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't played D&D since I was a kid. I used to play it a lot, but it'll be fun.
That's cool.
It'll be fun, right?
Yeah. There you go. Well, then with all that, I know you're in a lot of video games, doing a voiceover work and all that. Do you currently play games yourself?
Sure. Yeah.
What are you playing?
Especially now I have a 11-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter, so we play a lot of video games. Personally, I play Rainbow Six a lot.
Okay.
I'm not that great. I'm pretty good, but I'm not like some of these guys are ridiculous. I'm Canadian, so I play hockey. I play NHL a lot.
Yeah.
And you know what else I play a lot? Speaking of Evil Dead, is I play the Evil Dead game.
Oh, nice.
The one that's where you could play Ash and all the guys from Army of Darkness and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just basically a slashing game for the
right.
but there's a strategy to it, and I'm addicted to it. I play it every night. But there are fewer and fewer players, and it's starting to get, because you have to be online. So it's starting to get sad. I'm like, oh, this matchup is taking a long time.
Oh, nice.
But
we recently introduced my nephews to Super Smash Bros.
Oh yeah, okay,
and they've been going nuts with that. So.
Yeah. We have also the my son is really into old school Nintendo now. Like we went to a store the other day and he bought an old DS Lite. Like that's what he wanted to spend his money on.
Yeah.
And then he wants to get an actual NES, and he wants to get an actual, like, things that were before I was like even playing.
Yeah.
And he just wants to get all this stuff. He wants to do all this old school, especially Nintendo. Like he wants to get all the Nintendo stuff. So yeah, we're big into games in this place.
That's great. I was watching some old interviews with you, and you talked a lot about how you were getting into voice directing.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, is that something you want to continue? And then do you want to get into TV and film directing as well?
It's a good question. I never, I did. Again, we were talking before we started about stuff that I can talk about and stuff that I can't talk about. I'm under NDA for a lot of stuff, but I did sell an animated series that I wrote with a couple other people.
Oh, wow.
And so I've been producing that, and I'm going to be voice directing it, and I'm also writing it. So it is definitely something that I have interest in doing, bringing my own my own take, I should say, to my own work or other work that we're inventing. Of course, I want to do that. In terms of voice directing really saved me during COVID and the strike, because when COVID happened, everything shut down. I was doing mostly television on camera stuff. I still did a lot of video games, but it was mostly my job was paying the most bills was on camera. And that went away for 2 years, almost 2 years. And so I was like, okay, well, now it's only voice work, and voice work is good, but it doesn't pay particularly well unless you're working like a ton, or you get like a really big commercial or something. So I was also kind of getting in trouble there. And then I think somebody just offered me, because I'd coached so many actors for the last 20 years. Somebody just said, do you want to, we're shy of a voice director. Do you want to come do this? And I did. And then that just snowballed into more and more and more voice directing. And then what ends up happening is there are these companies that video games hire to get their actors and their directors. And this is what you do as a voice director in video games and animation, is you start building relationships with those companies. And so they pitch you when a new game comes to them. They say, well, we have an in-house director. They have like 5 directors, and like, these are the 5. And then I'm one of those 5, at a few of these houses. So I'm going to do it as long as I have time, because it's fun. Sometimes it's not fun. Like I did, the game is great, right? Don't get me wrong. But I direct Airsoft's Microsoft Air Simulator. Okay. I direct the actors in that. 2 great actors. Marie is the female voice, one of my good friends. But it's so boring. Like, it's like, all right, now pull back on the stick. Now pull. It's like, and I have to direct them to do that for 4 hours a day. Like, all right, this is not fun. But then at the same time, I'll direct like Starfield, and it's character stuff. That's super fun, because I'll just be reading with the actor. I'm just acting anyway. So that kind of stuff I'll do forever, as long as they need me, as long as they hire me, and as long as I have time.
When you get in that director mindset, though, and then you're on set for a TV show or a film, is it hard for you to kind of like, you start thinking about like what you would do as the director in that scene?
Yeah, it happens. It's hard. You have to. It's a good question, because it does genuinely happen. Like, you have to clamp down, especially working when you're a voice actor. And I'm like one week, like last week, I did directing Monday, directing Tuesday, but Wednesday I was working as an actor, right, and a voiceover thing. And I kind of already know what they want, because I know how it works to get what they want. But then I find, like, I'm like, no, I'm going to redo that. I think it should be. And I'm like, I should stop. Let them tell me that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I do. It's a good question because it does happen. I do find myself getting caught up in over directing my acting because that's what I'm so used to directing other actors. So it is a take a step back, let them direct it, and then you know how to get there.
Right.
It does happen. It's
Okay.
funny you asked that.
Yeah. I know if it was me, that's what I would start doing, and I'd
Yeah,
have to rein it back in.
you gotta rein it back in. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as we said, you were in Star Trek Discovery season 5. You played Locke. Originally, that role, from what I read, was supposed to only be 5 episodes. Is that correct?
I think it was even fewer than that.
Oh wow.
I think maybe not few. It just wasn't as impactful of a role initially, I think. From
Okay.
what I remember, um, like I got the role, they offered me the role, and I would have taken it if it was 1 episode. I wanted to get back on that show so badly.
Hmm.
And then I remember getting on set. I remember the first episode was really big no matter what. He was a big part of it. And then I remember thinking, he's not in it that much in the next couple episodes, but they keep talking about him, so
Hmm.
that's cool. And then, yeah, definitely 5. The background stuff that was there, but I think it was going to end there. So it wasn't 5 episodes. It was by episode 5 because he wasn't in 3
Okay.
at all, right? So that's why I'm thinking it that way.
Yeah.
So we're both right. It was by episode 5. I think he was done.
Okay.
But by the time we were getting through, episode 4, just that one scene in the beginning, I was hearing things like, the studio really likes what you guys are doing. The
Mm.
studio really likes Mall and Locke, so I think we're going to stretch it out a little longer.
Mm.
And I mean, this is all hearsay, right? It's not.
Right.
I don't have any actual. Nobody called me and said you're giving you another episode. It was just. It was always kind of malleable. It's like this is happening, and then this is happening, and then they're writing at the same time as we're shooting, and stuff like that. And then I'm pretty sure it ended up bigger than initially planned.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right on. And then, so nobody sat you down then, like you said, right? And they
No,
kept saying, "Hey, come back, and we're gonna do more."
it was actually pretty frustrating because I would always be asking, "Can I see episode 5? Can I see?" Because I knew they were going to go into the background of episode 5.
Mm.
I was like, can I see the script for episode 5? Can I see the script? And they were always like, no, we don't give it to actors until it's done, because actors are annoying. And I get that.
Yeah.
But what was bothering me about it was that episode 5 was flashbacks. So stuff that happened in the past could have informed the way I was playing things now, if you
Yeah.
follow what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like, well, I need to know. And they never really, they don't tell the actors much.
Mm.
You kind of have to just go with the flow. And I think this is why I think that they stretched it. They definitely told me that the studio really likes what they're doing and they want to see more of us. But I think also they had booked my flight back after 5 and then they canceled that flight.
Oh wow.
Or they didn't, I don't know if they canceled, but they said, well, we need you to come back again or something like that. I don't remember. It was like 2 years ago. But I remember thinking I would be home at a certain time and saying, oh, I have to still stay in Toronto. So that proves that they had stretched out the character. And no, they don't. I don't know if I answered your question, but they don't tell you anything.
Is that like to prevent leaks? Is that what they're going for?
I don't know what their reason is. Partially, probably to prevent leaks, but we're all under NDAs anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's like a writer's thing. Like,
Okay.
they're like, we don't want to give anything until we're done.
Yeah.
Like they would tell me story hints, but like I didn't know I was going to be on the Enterprise until I got 5.
Right.
I had heard one of the props people going, "Oh yeah, when we're back on the Enterprise, we'll do this." And I was like, "What? What are we back on?"
Yeah.
They're like, no, don't worry about it. And then when I got 5, I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm on the freaking Enterprise! It's the coolest thing ever."
So I got to ask, because our people listening to this won't see this, but is that a Roman Reigns t-shirt?
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
I got my Cody Rhodes t-shirt in the mail today.
Oh, right on. Very cool.
Yeah, that's another thing me and my son are really big into.
Right on.
Here's a little scoop. Is when I was about 21, I was a pro wrestler for about 4 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I trained for 2 months in
Yeah.
Montreal, where I'm from, Montreal. So Montreal is big into wrestling. Like my great uncle was Mad Dog Vachon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And like Pat Patterson was around all the time because he's from there. And so I trained for a bit, and then I did one show and one run-in, like where I ran in as a heel and
Yeah.
tried to hit the heel. I tried to hit the face, but I hit the heel, and then I got beat up and I got chair shotted and all that kind of stuff. Super fun, but
Yeah.
I remember by the time 4 months had been on, like I was like, I love this, but
Yeah.
I don't want to feel this pain all the
Mm.
time. And it really
Yeah.
did. You have to have a super passion for pro wrestling
Yeah.
because it is so painful
Yeah.
and really exhausting. And I have a passion for it, but I believe my passion for it is more as a fan than as a wrestler. So I just say I'll stick with acting. Let stunt people do that.
Fair enough. Yeah. So we did have a question from one of our co-hosts who wanted to know if you took any souvenirs from set.
I got them to send me Locke's jacket. I still have it.
Oh,
It's right there.
nice.
Locke's jacket. And I didn't want to take anything because I had ended in 7. So you never want to take something and then suddenly they're like, well, we were going to use that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I didn't take anything, but the costume people, because the show had wrapped completely,
Yeah.
I got some costume people and prop people. I'm like, send me stuff, send me stuff, send me stuff.
Nice.
So they sent me a box, and it was like a lot of like pins and things like that. And but I knew all that shit, man. There was I've told the story already, but there was a scene in episode 1 where Locke is trying to open up Locke and Maul are trying to open up the clue, the first clue, right? And he takes a bag and he drops it and he pulls out. He's like isolinear processor and stem cell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All the stuff. Yeah.
And it was everything that he would pull out. I'd be like, okay, that's this, that. And I knew everything that they were. And I remember the showrunner Tunde was like, I don't think I've ever had an actor who knew exactly what every prop was from the show. I'm like, well, yeah, that's an isolinear processor, of course. That's a self-sealing stem bolt. Of course that is. That was from Deep Space Nine.
Well, as a lifelong fan, what was your favorite series before Discovery, before being part of that?
I grew up loving the original series, but not obviously at the same time it was on.
Right.
But I have a very distinct memory of being probably, like 6 or 7 or something, but they PBS would air this, like, I don't know if it was PBS, but probably they would air the top 10 Star Trek episodes, and they would just do that once or twice a year, and as a fundraiser thing, and I would spend the weekends watching those. So I got hooked on the original series, and then the movies for me, like 2 to 6, particularly, especially the Genesis trilogy, 2 to 4. Like those are in my DNA. That's how well I know those movies. Like, and they were like everything I loved. And then of course I loved TNG, and then I really loved Deep Space Nine because it kind of grew up with me. TNG, I was a little kid, and then Deep Space Nine, it was like I was coming into my teenage years, and it was kind of like a more mature show, and so I got really into that. And then I watched Voyager and Enterprise, but sporadically because I was going through college, and I was like, I just didn't have time. I didn't have cable. I didn't have so I kind of only watched those sporadically. And then I was super hyped when Discovery showed up because I was living in Toronto at the time. And I'm like, I'm a giant Star Trek fan. I got to get on this show. And I did. And then they chopped that character up to hell, and I got pissed off.
Yeah. Well, if you were to come back, because I mean, Star Trek brings back actors all the time.
Yeah.
Is there a specific like alien you like to play or type of character you'd like to play?
No, because if I had answered that question before Discovery, I would have been like, yeah, this or this. And then I got to play a friggin' the first time you see a brain. So there's no particular thing. I'm like, hey, just if you want to bring me back, I'll gladly come back. I'd like to, I mean, I've already burned myself on Discovery in my normal face in episode 3 there. But I'd like to just play a human, or maybe just a little less prosthetic, because it does take a lot out of you.
Yeah.
That prosthetic thing.
I was going to ask about that, like going from voice acting to on-camera acting to on-camera with prosthetics. I mean, what is that difference like?
Well, the on camera that I do, like I said, I did more on camera than I did voice at first before COVID and the strike hit.
Right.
But that kind of switched. But it's not so much before I get to the prosthetics. It's like The techniques are different, obviously,
Mhm.
but from an acting point of view, you always approach it the same way. You know, the cliche, what does the character want? What is he doing to get it? What's in his way? How does he feel about this? How does he feel about that? How do they feel about him? All that stuff. That doesn't change, even if it's
Mhm.
in a voiceover booth. There are technical things like don't hit the, don't when you're acting, don't hit the, the pop filter or
Right.
watch the mic, things like that. And on set, you have to worry about marks and you have to worry about lighting. You have to worry about blocking the other actor's light, and you have to worry about how your hair looks and your makeup and all that kind of crap. But so the technical stuff is different, but the approach of the character is the same. But the one thing about prosthetics that I really liked, I didn't like getting up at 2 in the morning.
Mhm.
I didn't like sitting there for 4 hours. Although I'm not really working when I'm sitting there, I'm just sitting there and they're working. Like
Mhm.
all the people doing my makeup. They're the ones that are actually painstakingly working. I'm just trying not to fall asleep. Sometimes actually falling asleep.
Hmm.
Um, and then you have to work for 12 hours in this hot latex, especially when you're doing fight scenes and things like that. It's tough. It's hard. These are first world problems, but
Right.
they're hard days, and by the end you're very, very tired. But the one thing that I found freeing about it was I didn't have to worry about, I don't like this angle of my face. I don't like the way the lighting is hitting me. Oh, my hair, make sure my hair is not doing something crazy. All the stuff that you think about when you're just a normal actor on camera, because you always think about that stuff, right? You can't help it. If you're really into a scene, you're not thinking about it, but most of the day you're like, oh, I didn't like that angle. I hate that. Why does my face look that? Like, those are the things that you always kind of think about. But under that prosthetic, even though it's pretty much like, here is my face and my nose is the same except the big bump here. So it's
Mhm.
pretty much my face. But for some reason, I just lost all inhibition or all, like, anything I was worried about, camera angles, things like, I just forgot about it all.
Mhm.
And so it was like, it was not only freeing in that aspect, but it was like a learning, like, maybe I should do this whether I have this stuff on me or not,
Yeah.
because that might free me up as an actor a little bit. Um, and so that was the good thing about it. And also, he's a freaking badass, and I get to be get to be a
Yeah.
badass. So it's yeah, and he's super cool looking and all that stuff. So yeah, that's really fun. And it's fun to walk on set. Like, I'm not the tallest dude, but I'm not short. I'm like 5'11", but and they put me in boots like with a little bit of a heel. So
Mhm.
probably walked around like 6'1", and I'm pretty broad shouldered and I worked out a lot. And so I would walk on that set and I'd be like, bam, bam, bam. And I'm like, everyone turns and looks at me.
Ready to come down the aisle with that chair.
Exactly. So like it is once you're in it and you're doing it, it was really, really fun. I
Mhm.
remember there were days, I remember specifically sitting there in episode 7 and just I remember thinking like, yeah, this is tough, but man, this is great. Like, I love being here. And that speaks to the character, of course, and the writing and everything and the producers, but it also speaks to like how great of a set it is and how great those
Yeah.
those people are. And I was just like, man, I could do this. I said, exhausted as I am, I could do this for a whole
Mhm.
other year if I needed to.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not Doug, right? That was my first time ever doing anything that extensive, and it was only for about 4.5 months. Doug's been doing
Mhm.
it for 30 years.
Right.
So I'm sure he's way more tired of it
Yeah.
than I am at
Yeah.
this point. Yeah.
I remember watching the show and like after your character had died, but they were still kind of dragging you around a little bit, little
Yeah.
Bernie type thing. And I'm like, this poor guy, he has to get up early, do all the makeup,
No,
and
I didn't do it though.
okay, that's what I was
So
wondering.
yeah.
Yeah.
So two things about that's funny to me is the first one was when he's just his body with the brain helmet on.
Yeah.
They asked me if I wanted to hang around and like, do you want to hang around and just come play the dead body? And I think they kind of wanted me to say no because, look, let's be honest. If you're budgeting a TV show, you have to
Hmm.
pay me what you pay me every episode, or you put a dummy there for nothing.
Right.
I think they wanted, but they did give me the option. I think they were happy that I said no, but I wasn't happy that I said no because the episode was directed by Jonathan friggin' Frakes.
Right.
And I had no idea. I left, and then Eve texted me a picture. She's like, this guy apparently is on Star Trek, because Eve knows nothing about Star Trek. And I'm like, that's Jonathan friggin' Frakes. I'm like, he's directing the episode? She's like, yeah, he's really nice. I'm like, son of a bitch. I
Have
would
you
have
had a chance to
stayed.
meet him yet?
Yeah, I've met him a few times. Yeah,
Okay.
I've
All
met
right.
a lot of the cast at these Comic Cons and
Yeah.
events and things like that. They're all, to a person, they're all great. A TNG cast, they're all great. Even the original series. I know I've spent a lot of time with William Shatner, and he never remembers me. But once I reintroduce myself, then he remembers me, and then we have these long conversations because Shatner and I grew up literally on the same street corner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in Montreal. He grew up obviously like 30 years before I did, but on the same street corner where I grew up.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's always been a hero of mine. A lot of because of that. Because it's
Yeah.
like, oh, if he left this corner and went there, I can do it.
So the kid that lives there now is watching this and going, all
Yeah,
right.
exactly. There's some kid there now who wants to be on Star Trek.
Yeah.
And he might get his chance because this thing's gonna go on forever, I think.
Yeah.
What was this? Yeah, anyway, so yeah, that was Frakes directed episode. I was mad about that. And then the last one, they're like, do you want to come up? Again, they asked me, do you want to come up and play the actual Locke in the mask? And I'm like, guys, just use a dummy. My kids are going back to school now, and it's like I'm gonna come up and sit through 5 hours of makeup and then just lie there. It's like, are you sure you're not bringing them back? And they're like, no. So I don't know if they used a dummy or a stuntman or whatever, but it's my face over that.
Yeah.
Over that thing. Yeah.
I was convinced that they were going to bring you back, but they were going to kill Maul, like some sort of like Romeo and Juliet type thing.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are all sorts of options. I think they were mulling a bunch because that was the other thing that they said is I remember when we were on 7, so that's only 3 episodes left.
Yeah.
And they were still like, we still don't know if we're going to bring you back. Like, we might. And then they decided not to. There are a million things they could have done. They could have done that. One of the writers told me that one of the original pitches was that Maul died.
Oh, wow.
And Locke went off and tried to save her and then went and ruled the Breen.
Okay.
That was just one of the pitches.
Yeah,
They never put pen to paper on that. But that was one of the ideas, and that would have been interesting too. You had so many opportunities, so many choices that you could have made there.
Well, because originally they were uncertain that was the final season. Is what
I
understood.
Yeah. No, we didn't know. Shoot, I remember going to a Christmas party with Doug after we had wrapped that year, and Doug was like, "Yeah, I think we're going to do a couple more seasons." And I'm like, "I'm dead. I don't care, but you do what you want." But yeah, I think the cast had expected at least a couple more seasons. But it's a weird time, man. Like with TV shows, and you know this, like on video games, every day I'm seeing this video game company just fired 200 people. And one of the games I'm really popular for is this game called Deus Ex. Yeah, and apparently they were in the middle of making the 3rd part, and they were going to call me.
Oh, wow.
And everything was going to go, and then the company that bought them scrapped the project.
Yeah,
and fired like 100 people.
What do you think is causing that shift? Is it just the financials of Hollywood right now, or?
I think it's twofold. It's partially the financials, but partially they made their own bed. Like they overspent.
Yeah,
you'd be amazed. Even working in games from a directing and acting point of view, I see where I'm like, oh my God, why are you spending this much money? Like you don't need to do this. And I watch them just overspend, and then it just catches up. And I think that's what happened. I think a lot of companies were sold to bigger companies, and the bigger companies are going, what are you doing? You can't do this. Scrap, fire. And same thing in like Zaslav with Warner Brothers and TV. He'll look at something and go, this is never going to make any money. Scrap. I don't know if he's right,
right.
But that's what they're doing. It's just like these money guys came in and just started scrapping things to try to balance out between COVID and the strike and all that kind of stuff. Even now, like, the business right now is so messed up. Not so much video games. Thankfully, I'm working a lot in games. But for on-camera stuff, like there are very few opportunities. And a lot of actors I know are very, very panicked. A lot of writers I know are very, very panicked. Still, even though the strike's over and COVID's over, they're just the purse strings they're still tight.
That's interesting because as somebody who's just watching this stuff, like there's so many streaming services and so many like places looking for content. You would think that it's just plentiful out there.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's weird. It's very weird. They're also worried about IATSE. I don't know if you know what IATSE is, but it's like crew, and they might strike now.
Mhm.
So they're worried about that, and they want to make sure that gets fixed before that. And part of it, people think it's like a punishment for striking. It's like, well, we're
Mm.
not going to produce things for a while for the actors or the
Yeah.
writers. I don't know. I don't know what the truth is, but it is a bit of a mess out there right now.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, I hope it gets better out there for everyone. It's
Yeah, me
tough.
too.
So, okay. Well, I'm pretty much out of questions. If there's anything else you wanted to bring up, yeah,
I don't know, man. Now it's your show.
yeah, that's fair. Well, hey, thanks so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. It was awesome having you.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel.
Can't wait to meet you out there in the conventions. So,
Are you going to any coming up?
I just went to the Long Island one.
Oh, did I meet you? I was there.
I think we briefly kind of walked by each other, but
Yeah.
that's about it. Yeah, there was a lot going on. So,
Yeah, it was
yeah,
that was fun.
yeah.
Have you been to any of like the creation ones, the big ones?
I have not. One of my best friends lives in Vegas, so I might head out to that one. I'm
Yeah,
kind of
they're big. They're like Long
yeah,
Island times 10. Well, Vegas is.
yeah.
But oh no, you're in Ohio. Sorry, so I was thinking
Idaho.
Idaho. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was thinking like there's one in Jersey coming up, a creation one. And
Yeah,
Nashville. Yeah,
there isn't really a lot of Star Trek conventions in my area. I have to go out of
yeah,
town for one.
yeah.
So,
Well, they're fun, man, and they're going to be going on forever, so you'll have
oh,
your
for sure.
chance.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
All
It
right,
was
man.
neat having you. And yeah, thanks so much.
Cool.
All right. Bye.
This is Captain Benjamin Sisko of Deep Space Nine and Space God to the Bajorans. I have a mission for you. This falls outside of Starfleet guidelines, so I can't order you, but I'm asking for volunteers. Volunteers who will subscribe to the Trekcast YouTube channel, leave 5-star reviews on your podcast app of choice, and share Trekcast across your social media accounts. If we can make our audience bigger, we might have a chance against the Dominion. Are you ready? Subscribe, like, and share. Are you with me?